Australia is a land full of wonders, from ancient legends and breathtaking landscapes to stories that sound almost too incredible to be true. In this video, we'll uncover 10 amazing stories from Australia that will surprise, inspire, and maybe even shock you. Get ready to dive into the mysteries and marvels of the land down under. Story 1. The Dreamtime. Stories older than history. Long before Europeans arrived, the First Nations peoples of Australia told stories of the Dreamtime, a spiritual era when ancestral beings created the land, rivers, animals, and people. One tale describes the rainbow serpent carving valleys and mountains as it slithered across the continent. Another tells of the seven sisters chased across the sky, becoming the constellation we call the Pleiades. These oral traditions, some 65,000 years old, are among the world's oldest continuous cultural stories. They astonish us not only with their beauty, but with their endurance, connecting Indigenous Australians to their land in ways deeper than written history. Story 2. Captain Cook and the First Contact. In 1770, British navigator James Cook sailed along Australia's east coast. Landing at Botany Bay, he claimed the land for Britain, unaware of the deep history of its indigenous custodians. His voyage astonished Europeans, who had long imagined Australia as a mysterious, great southern land. Cook's maps opened the way for colonization, forever altering the continent's destiny. Yet from the other side, this was not discovery but invasion. For the Aboriginal peoples, Cook's landing marked the beginning of dispossession, a story still unfolding today. Story 3. The First Fleet and a Harsh New Colony. In 1788, 11 ships known as the First Fleet sailed into Sydney Cove. On board were more than 700 convicts sent from overcrowded British prisons to the farthest corner of the earth. Life in the new colony was brutal: scarce food, strange climate, clashes with indigenous peoples. Survival itself was astonishing. But the convicts, guards, and settlers laid the foundations of modern Australia. From hardship grew resilience, and from punishment grew a nation. Story 4. The Gold Rush and the Eureka Stockade. In 1851, gold was discovered in New South Wales and Victoria, sparking a rush that drew fortune seekers from across the globe. Towns boomed overnight, fortunes were made and lost. But discontent grew among miners burdened by heavy fees. At Ballarat in 1854, diggers raised the Southern Cross flag and built a stockade. When troops attacked, dozens died in what became known as the Eureka Rebellion. Though crushed, the miners' cause led to reforms and greater democracy. The Eureka Stockade became an astonishing symbol of Australia's fight for fairness and rights. Story 5. Ned Kelly, the Outlaw in Armor. No figure is more legendary in Australia than Ned Kelly. The bush ranger who defied authority in the 1870s, son of an Irish convict, Kelly clashed with police and became a folk hero for the poor. In his final stand at Glenrowan, he wore homemade armor of iron plates. Captured and hanged in 1880, his words before death, "Such is life," became immortal. Was he villain or hero? Either way, Ned Kelly remains one of Australia's most astonishing legends. Story 6. Gallipoli, Birth of the Anzac Spirit. In 1915, during World War I, Australian and New Zealand soldiers landed on the cliffs of Gallipoli in Turkey. For 8 months, they endured brutal combat, heat, disease, and relentless fire. The campaign ended in failure, but the courage and mateship of the Anzacs astonished the world. Gallipoli became a defining story of Australian identity, sacrifice, resilience, and loyalty. Every year, on April 25th, Anzac Day is commemorated, showing how a defeat became a source of national pride. Story 7, The Great Emu War of 1932. In Western Australia, farmers battled an unexpected enemy: emus. After World War I, veterans farming wheatlands found their crops invaded by thousands of giant birds. The government sent soldiers with machine guns to fight them, yet the emus proved astonishingly resilient, fast, scattered, and impossible to corner. After weeks of chasing, the humans declared defeat. The Emu War became a bizarre chapter of history, reminding us that in Australia, even the wildlife can outsmart the army. Story 8. The Sydney Opera House, a dream in concrete. When Danish architect Jørn Utzon won the contest to design Sydney's new opera house in 1957, his plan seemed impossible: giant white sails of concrete rising from the harbor. The project faced massive delays, political battles, and soaring costs. Utzon himself resigned before completion. Yet when the Opera House opened in 1973, it astonished the world. Today, its sails are an icon of Australia itself, proof that bold dreams can triumph despite chaos. Story 9. The Aboriginal Tent Embassy. In 1972, on the lawns of Australia's Parliament in Canberra, 4 young Aboriginal activists set up a beach umbrella and declared it the Aboriginal Tent Embassy. Their protest against land rights injustices grew into a permanent symbol of Indigenous resistance and survival. Despite police raids and political attempts to remove it, the Tent Embassy endures to this day. Its story astonishes because it shows how a simple act of defiance can spark a national movement for justice. Story 10. The discovery of the Great Barrier Reef's fragility. Stretching 2,300 kilometers, the Great Barrier Reef is the largest living structure on Earth. For centuries, it astonished sailors, scientists, and divers with its beauty and biodiversity. But in recent decades, the reef has faced threats from climate change, bleaching, and pollution. Scientists' discovery of its fragility has been both heartbreaking and galvanizing. The reef's story is not only natural, but human. Will we preserve this wonder for future generations or watch it vanish? From Dreamtime stories to the Opera House, from goldfields to Gallipoli, from outlaw legends to environmental battles, Australia's history is filled with astonishing tales. They reveal a land of resilience, creativity, humor, and struggle, where Indigenous voices echo through millennia, where convicts became citizens, and where even emus can make history. Together, these 10 stories show that Australia is not just a distant island continent, but a stage for some of the most extraordinary dramas of human and natural history.